feeling it this afternoon. We're mustering up every little bit of energy we can find on a dreary Monday afternoon. BBC Radio Stoke helping us along, and he has done all the way through the pandemic. You've been amazing, Rob Edwards. Life cycle coaching in Sandbach. How are you?
Bless you, Lou. Thank you very much. I'm all good. It's very wet, very grey here in Sandbach, but I'm all good. And listening in, I'm very much looking forward to your John Lydon interview, I must admit.
If you start me off, we're going to be here. This is the problem, you see. I'm working with Tom today, and he just says he tries to do these realistic conversations with me when he's producing, and he does all the very serious timekeeping, which I'm oblivious to, and he'll go, you know, when you go on about John Lydon, he went, do you reckon it'll be about 30 seconds? This is him. He says, yeah, I'll try my best. 2 hours goes by. But what's he mean to you? Was it a big part of your life, the Sex Pistols and Public Image Limited?
Oh, crikey. I remember watching John Lydon as a kid and thinking, what on earth is this? Because he completely changed the face of music in the UK. He was a revelation, wasn't he? You know, we're coming out of the kind of romantic period, and then it was bang, it was John Lydon in all of his anger and angst and everything right on the screen in front of you. He was incredible in many ways. He really was.
We were ready for something else. And not everyone, not obviously, we can't speak on behalf of everyone, but the people that were, especially musically, it was huge. And do you know what's interesting as well? You probably know more about him than me. His, what comes across in the interview you'll hear this afternoon, his resilience, Rob, to life and his determination through very serious illness, loss of his mum, Sid Vicious, his best friend at the same time, and now he's a carer for his wife. They've been married for 40 years and he's caring for her through Alzheimer's, and I just thought what a beautiful person you are.
I know, and he's dealt with a lot, hasn't he, through his life, and resilience is the key word. You know, he's had to fight everything really in his life, like you just said, and he's not alone, you know. But it doesn't matter who we are, does it? It doesn't matter how much of a profile we have or we don't have, and he has a profile, and rightly so. We all have to deal with, you know, difficulties at some point in our lives, don't we? We all have to deal with loss or pain at some point. And, you know, when we do lose someone or something close to us, it can be really painful as we try to make sense of it all.
Enormously painful. And you can feel sometimes like you're having a pile up of feeling, can't you? And just going, why? And I mean, it's hard to ask for advice, isn't it? But sometimes it's easier to do we shove it away? Do we face it? What would you say?
Sometimes we don't know how to handle it because we don't like to show vulnerabilities in public, and that can lead us into a cycle of denial or anger or isolation as a result. But no, it's not good to ignore it or to keep it hidden from others, because all we're doing is we're making it worse in the long run. And you know, John has processed his grief and his pain, and he's talking about it from stage now, but he's acknowledged it, and he's not ignoring it, he's not burying it, and he's using a lot of humour as well in there, I think, as well. And you know, that's a certain approach. But there's 2 or 3 things that we can do when we're up against grief, yeah. And a lot of us in the last kind of 18 months, obviously with what we've been through, have faced all this sort of stuff. So
people have been through absolutely horrendous time, haven't they, in one way and another this last 2 years?
Yeah, we've all lost someone or something or some form of identity. And so, firstly, it's about choosing to acknowledge that, because when we're in grief, we start to question things. You know, why has this happened? Why has it happened to me now? It's so unfair. And we often feel that we don't have a choice, but we always do have that choice. And so when we choose to acknowledge our feelings and to face them and then to share them with others, that can really help to process a lot of the anxiety and the sadness that we feel. So the first step is really acknowledging our feelings as opposed to burying them, yeah?
Do you think it's a generation thing, Rob, as well, where, I'm 47, the way I've kind of been brought up, and things have changed a lot, I think, in the last 10 years, but very much we're getting on with it as a family. This has happened. We're getting on with it. And as well, you don't want to moan. You feel like don't want people to feel awkward, or I don't want them to, don't want to look like I'm moaning about it.
Yeah, I don't want to burden other people and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it is, generational to a certain degree, but that, it creates stigma, and that stigma stops us communicating. And so secondly, if you can start to express your feelings in some way, it doesn't matter how old you are or what your generation is, even if you're unable to talk about your feelings with others, you can help to process it in other ways, maybe writing it down or expressing it through art or music like John's done, or raising money for a charity or volunteering for a related cause, something like that. It doesn't have to be talking about it. You can find other outlets for it.
It's finding a comfort, I think, for yourself. And like with me, when I'm feeling so low or I'm trying to process stuff, the first thing I shut myself off completely because I think, I'm going to have to act. I'm going to have to act how I feel, and I don't want to do that. And I think sometimes the minute you decide to see people or go and do something could be the start of processing it, couldn't it?
Exactly that. It's that first step. After a period of loss or grief, there's huge comfort in getting back to those activities that bring us joy, and committing to taking that first step is really important. So it might be about getting back to an old hobby or reconnecting with those people that make us feel good about ourselves again. You mentioned the Pink Sisters before, didn't you, Jackie and Janet? They've been through difficulty, but they've found comfort in a shared activity. It's exactly that. It's surrounding yourself with those people who can help you through it. So acknowledge it, express it, and find comfort. They're the three things.
Anybody listening now, Rob, that's going through their own grief or their own loss, where can we find more information? Because there's loads of great stuff on your website. Oh, bless you. There's loads of stuff on there. You can find me at lifecyclecoaching.co.uk.